I always believed my cousin was like a brother to me. But yesterday I learned he had been spreading lies about me to my entire family for years. And the moment my own parents repeated his words back to me, I realized he had stolen my place in their hearts. I cheated on Sarah with my cousin Jake's girlfriend because I thought I deserved better than what I had. That's the truth, raw and I can't take it back no matter how many times I've replayed that night in my head over the past 6 months. It started at my sister's engagement party. Sarah was working late again, third weekend in a row, and I was standing alone at the bar watching everyone else celebrate love while mine felt like it was withering. Jake walked with Mia, his girlfriend of 2 years, and she was everything Sarah wasn't. Confident, available, looking at me like I mattered. Girlfriend couldn't make it again, Mia asked, touching my arm. Her fingers lingered. That's such a shame. Looks so handsome tonight. Sarah had texted an hour earlier. Sorry, client emergency. Rain check on the party. Love, the same message I'd gotten dozens of times before. I stared at it and felt something cold settle in my chest. Jake was already hitting on some bridesmaid across the room. Maya rolled her eyes. He's going to regret that tomorrow. She ordered us both shots. But tonight's about having fun, right? I should have walked away. I should have called Sarah. I should have done literally anything else. Instead, I took the and looked at Mia like she was offering me salvation. 2 hours later, we were in her car in the hotel parking lot. Her hands were in my hair, her mouth was on mine, and I was thinking about how Sarah never me like she was hungry for it anymore. How Sarah never looked at me like I was the only person in the room. Cousin doesn't appreciate what he has, she whispered against my neck. But don't God help me, I nodded. We ended at her apartment. Jake was passed out on someone's couch back at the hotel. Sarah was probably still at her office, solving problems for people who weren't me. And I was making the worst decision of my with someone who was supposed to be family. Who was desperate and angry and everything my relationship with Sarah wasn't anymore. Maya bit my shoulder hard enough to leave marks. She pulled my hair. She told me I was better than Jake, better than any man she'd ever been with. I came inside her and immediately wanted to. She lit a cigarette afterward and shameless. This was fun, she said like we just watched a movie together. We should do it again. I was already pulling on my clothes, panic crawling my throat. This can't happen again. This was a mistake. She laughed, blowing smoke at the ceiling. Sure it was. That's why already hard again looking at me. She wasn't wrong. That's what made it so much worse. I drove home in silence, windows down, trying to let the cold air shock some sense back into me. Sarah's car wasn't in the driveway, still at work. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, staring at our house, at that I'd just blown without her even knowing it yet. My phone buzzed. Sarah, finally heading home. Sorry tonight was such a bust. I'll make it to this weekend, promise. Love so much. I stared at those words until they blurred. She was gonna make it to me. Like she was the one who'd done something wrong. I deleted the message without responding and went inside to shower off the smell of another woman. But Mia was right about one thing. It wasn't gonna be the last time. The second time happened a week later. I texted her while Sarah was at yoga. Can we talk? But we both knew talking wasn't what I wanted. The third time was in Jake's bed while he was at work. Mia thought it was hilarious. He'll never know, she said, writing me in the sheets he'd picked out for them. But even if he did, what's he going to do? Family. She was using me, and I was using her. And we were both using my relationship with Sarah as foreplay. Every time Mia moaned about how much better I was than Jake, every time she told me Sarah didn't deserve me, I felt vindicated, like I was finally getting what I was owed. But Jake wasn't. He started asking questions. Why was I always available when he called? Why did Mia seem to know things about that he hadn't told her? Why did she get that weird smile when my name came? I should have stopped then. I should have confessed everything and begged for forgiveness. Instead I decided Jake was paranoid and kept his girlfriend every chance I got. The breaking point came a month later. Sarah planned a surprise birthday party for me at our house. Jake and Mia were invited. I watched Mia walk into my home, shake hands with my girlfriend, and compliment her dress. "Are so lucky," me told Sarah in front of everyone. "Is amazing," Sarah beamed. "I know, I'm the luckiest girl in the world," I excused in the upstairs bathroom. When I came back down, Jake was watching me with narrowed eyes. After the party, while Sarah was cleaning, Jake cornered me in the kitchen. "I know," he said quietly. My turn to ice. "Know what about?" And Mia did really think I wouldn't figure it out. His voice was steady but his hands were shaking. My cousin. I opened my mouth to deny it but nothing came out. "How long?" he'd asked. "Jake, I can explain." "How long?" 2 months. He nodded slowly like he was processing information he already knew. "In our bed him, JK. In our bed. Yes or no?" "Wes." He laughed, short and bitter. "Know what the funny thing is? I was going to propose to her next month. Had the ring and every tilted." "Jake, please let me." "Let what?" "Apologize. Explain why I decided to the woman I love in the bed I sleep in." He stepped closer. "We're my cousin. I trusted with everything. I told how much I loved her. I asked for advice about the proposal." I remembered. He'd called me 2 weeks ago, nervous and excited, asking if I thought Mia would say yes. I'd been inside her an hour earlier. "I'm going to tell everyone," he said. "Sarah, parents, my parents, everyone at work, everyone who thinks this great guy who has his together. They're gonna know exactly what kind of man really are. Jake, please, think about this. It'll destroy both our families." Should have thought about that before stuck in my girlfriend. He turned to leave, then stopped. "Oh, and Mia, she's been recording." The world stopped. "What?" "Videos, audio, pictures. She's been documenting everything from the beginning. She thought it was funny. Insurance, she called it." He smiled, and it was the cruelest thing I'd ever seen. "She's been showing them to her friends, laughing about how easy we're, how desperate." I couldn't breathe. Rely am I? Check her Instagram story from last week, the one only her close friends can see. She posted a video of sleeping in our bed with the caption, "Jake's cousin is so pathetic it's almost cute." He left me standing there drowning. I went upstairs where Sarah was folding laundry, humming to herself. She looked and smiled when she saw me. "Great party tonight, baby. Did have fun?" I stared at her sweet, trusting face and realized I was about to lose everything that mattered for something that meant nothing. But it was already too late. The damage was done. The recordings existed. Jake knew. And tomorrow everyone else would know too. I was still staring at Sarah when my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. A video file. It was me in Jake's bed, from her phone propped on the nightstand. The timestamp was from 3 days ago. The caption read, "Final performance." She'd sent it to Jake, and God knew who else. Jake kept his word. By Monday morning, everyone knew. I woke to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. My phone had been buzzing all night, but I turned it face down after the first few, too cowardly to look. Sarah was already gone. Her side of the bed was cold, like she'd been for hours. I found her in the kitchen still in her pajamas staring at her laptop screen. Her coffee mug sat untouched, steam long gone. "Sarah." My voice cracked. She didn't look. "How many people do you think have seen this video, Michael?" My stomach dropped. "What video?" She turned the laptop toward me. My cousin's girlfriend was moaning my name in 4K resolution while I her in Jake's bed. The video had been uploaded to some revenge site with the title, "Cheating Cousin It's with 12,000 views." "Sarah, I can explain." "Explain what?" "That been Jake's girlfriend for 2 months. That been lying to my face every single day. That made me look like an in front of both our families." Her voice was eerily calm. "Or maybe want to explain why there are 7 different videos of online right now." 7. Jesus Christ. She recorded everything. Sarah continued scrolling through what looked like a forum dedicated to exposing cheaters. Every time we're with her, she was documenting it. "Look, here's one from our house, in our bed, while I was at my mom's funeral planning. I was gonna be sick." "Sarah, please just listen." "No, listen." She stood and I saw that her eyes were red but dry. She'd cried herself empty already. "Cousin called me at 6 this morning. Sent me everything. Photos, videos, screenshots of texts with her. Do want to know what Jake said?" I couldn't speak. He said Mia told him cried after the first time. That begged her not to tell anyone, promised it would never happen again. And then called her the next day asking to meet. She laughed, hollow and broken. Cried Michael. Knew it was wrong and did it anyway. Again and again and again. I was confused. I wasn't thinking clearly. Confused about what? Whether or not loved me. Whether or not I mattered to. She grabbed her laptop and turned it back toward herself. Because according to this text thread Mia screenshot, told her I was boring in bed, and that we're settling for me. I had said that. God help me, I had actually said that. Told her we're only with me because I was safe. Reliable. That I'd never leave no matter how badly treated me. Her voice finally broke. "We're right, Michael, am I that pathetic?" "No, Sarah, no, we're not pathetic. I'm the pathetic one. I'm the one who everything good am I because I'm a selfish piece of who." "Stop." She held her hand. "Just stop. I don't want apologies or self-pity or explanations. I want out of my house. Our house. Sarah, this is our house. Not anymore. I called my dad this morning, he's a lawyer, remember? Turns out when cheat on someone or engaged to, especially when there's video evidence, and especially when that someone has been paying half the mortgage while I've been around, don't get to keep the house." She pulled off her engagement ring and set it on the counter between us. "Pack it and leave." My phone rang. My mother's contact photo smiled at me from the screen. "Answer it," Sarah said. "I'm sure she's seen the videos by now too." I declined the call. It rang again immediately. "Mom's persistent," Sarah observed. "Maybe she wants to congratulate on performance." I answered on the third ring. "Mom, how could do this to us?" Her voice was shaking with rage. "How could our family like this?" Father is at work trying to explain to his coworkers why his son is all over the internet having with his nephew's girlfriend. Sister called in tears because her friends sent her the links. The whole town knows, Michael, everyone. Sarah was watching me with something that might have been pity. "Mom, I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't make people forget what they've seen. Sorry doesn't give Jake his relationship back or Sarah her dignity back or our family its reputation back." She was crying now. "Cousin loved like a brother, he looked to. And this is how I'll repay him. I know I didn't, is forgetting to call on someone's birthday or being late for dinner. This is betrayal. This is cruelty. This is the action of someone I don't recognize as my son." The line went dead. I stood there holding the phone staring at Sarah, who was packing her laptop into its case. "Where are going?" I asked. "My sister's. She's coming to get me in an hour." She zipped the case shut. "I've already called work and told them I need to take the week off. Apparently, having private exploded across the internet qualifies as a personal emergency. Sarah, please, can we just talk about this? Can we figure out how to fix this?" She stared at me for a long moment. "Want to know the worst part? It's not even the cheating. It's not the videos or the lies or the humiliation. It's that I still love. Even after seeing another woman in our bed, even after reading tell her that I'm not good enough for, I still love, and that makes me feel pathetic in a way I've never felt before." She walked toward the door then stopped. "Jake's mom called me this morning too. She wanted to apologize for what her son's girlfriend did. She said she's known Jake is all, and she's never seen him that destroyed. He's been in love with Mia for 3 years. He was gonna propose next month. The weight of what I'd done was crushing me. Is he okay? No, Michael. He's not okay. None of us are okay. That's what happens when someone trust decides to everyone's for a few orgasms." A car honked outside. Sarah's sister. "I'll come back for my things when you're not here. Don't try to contact me. Don't show at my work or my sister's house. Don't send letters or flowers or any of that movie. We're done, completely done. And if ever love me at all, I'll respect that." She left without looking back. I spent the next hour getting dressed and throwing clothes into a suitcase while my phone exploded with calls and texts I couldn't bring to read. My sister. My father. College friends. Coworkers, everyone had seen the videos. Everyone knew. I was loading my car when Jake's dad pulled into the driveway. He got out slowly, like his joints, and walked over to me. "Uncle Paul," I said, "'cause what else do say to the father of the man who's have just destroyed?" He looked at me for a long time. "Jake's in the hospital." The suitcase fell out of my hands. "What?" Panic so severe they thought he was having a heart. "He's been there since yesterday. Couldn't breathe, couldn't stop shaking. The doctor said it was triggered by extreme psychological trauma." I couldn't process the words. "He's gonna be okay, right? Physically, maybe, but mentally." Paul shook his head. "Keeps asking me why his cousin would do this to him. He can't understand it. He keeps saying he loved like a brother, and I don't know what to tell him." "I can explain." "Explain what?" That decided his happiness was worth less than getting wet. That thought so little of him that his girlfriend in his own bed. Paul's voice was getting louder. That boy worshipped. When got into college, he studied harder because he wanted to be like. When got engaged, he bought a ring for Mia because he wanted what had. And this is how repay that love. I was crying now and I didn't care. I never meant for this to happen. But it did happen. And now my son is sedated in a hospital bed because the person he trusted most in the world decided to destroy him for fun. Paul turned to leave then stopped. The whole family knows. Cousins, uncles. Everyone. And not one of them wants to see face again. He drove away, leaving me standing in my ex-girlfriend's driveway with my pathetic suitcase full of the remnants of my old. I checked into a motel that night because I had nowhere else to go. I sat on the scratchy bedspread and finally opened the texts. My sister, I can't believe did this. I'm embarrassed to share DNA. My college roommate, dude, what the whole group chat has seen the videos. My boss, we need to talk first thing Monday morning. A number I didn't recognize, saw a little performance online. Or another unknown number, hope it was worth it, piece of pine. I scrawled through dozens of them. Friends, family, strangers who'd somehow gotten my number, all saying the same thing: I was a monster who'd destroyed good people for selfish reasons. They weren't wrong. At 11 p.m., my phone rang. Sarah's number. Sarah. I answered so fast I nearly dropped the phone. It's not Sarah. It's her sister Amy. The voice was cold. Sarah's having a panic. She can't stop throwing. She asked me to call because she needs to know did ever love her at all. Or was she just convenient? The question hit me like a physical. Of course I love her. Then why? Help her understand why. Because she's convinced it's her fault somehow. She thinks she wasn't good enough, wasn't exciting enough, wasn't enough, period. It wasn't her fault. It was never her fault. I'm just a selfish who. Stop with the self-flagellation. She doesn't need to hear feel sorry for. She needs to understand how could claim to love her and then her like this. How could look her in the eye every day and lie to her face. I didn't have an answer that would make it better. There was no answer that would make it better. Tell her, I said finally, that she was too good for me, that she deserved better than me from the beginning, and that the problem was never her. The problem was that I'm broken in ways I didn't even understand until I broke everyone else. Amy was quiet for a moment. She also wanted me to ask if we're planning to, because if are, she wants to know so she can make sure someone stops. The question caught me off guard. No, why would she ask that? Because she knows, and she thinks might rather than face what done. There was a pause. She still cares about Michael, even now, even after everything. And that's probably the most heartbreaking part of all this. The line went dead. I sat in that motel room until the sun came, staring at my phone, reading and rereading messages from people who used to respect me, people who used to love me, people who now saw me as exactly what I was, a man who'd traded everyone he cared about for a few hours of pleasure with someone who never mattered at all. 3 months later, I was living in a studio apartment 40 miles away from everyone I used to know, working at a job that paid half what my old one did because my boss at the engineering firm had no choice but to let me go after the situation became public. I'd lost everything, my fiancé, my career, my reputation, my house, my dog even, because Sarah kept her when she moved back to our hometown. All for what? For with a woman who'd been using me as entertainment and material from day one. The internet is forever. That's what I learned. The videos were still out there, still being shared, still haunting me. I'd created social media accounts to try to see what people were saying, and what I found made me I'd never been born. There were entire forum threads dedicated to dissecting my betrayal. People analyzing my face in the videos, speculating about my psychology, sharing stories about their own cheating exes. Someone had even created a meme using screenshots from the videos. I was the poster child for the worst kind of man. But the worst part wasn't the strangers. It was the people who'd known me before. Sarah had moved back to her hometown and was apparently dating someone new. I knew this because Jake's sister had posted about it on Instagram before blocking me. Sarah deserves all the happiness in the world. She'd written, with a photo of Sarah laughing with some guy I didn't recognize. She looked radiant, free, like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. Jake was in therapy. I'd heard from a mutual friend who hadn't completely me off yet. He'd quit his job, moved back in with his parents, and was apparently working through trust issues and depression. Maya had disappeared entirely after the videos went viral, apparently having found the whole situation less amusing once it blew in her face too. My parents had been getting therapy as well, family counseling to deal with the shame and embarrassment of having a son who'd become a cautionary tale. They'd spoken to me exactly twice since the story broke, both times to tell me they needed space and time to process what I'd done to our family's reputation. My sister wouldn't take my calls at all. She'd changed her number and blocked me on everything. The last message I'd gotten from her was, "Her dead to me. Don't ever contact me again." I tried to go back to church, thinking maybe I could find some kind of redemption or peace there. The pastor was kind enough, but I could feel people staring, whispering. Someone had recognized me from the videos. I left halfway through the service and never went back. Dating was impossible. Even if I tried to use names on apps, people recognized my face. I'd gotten dozens of messages from women who'd seen the videos, some calling me, others propositioning me in ways that made my skin crawl. I deleted all the apps and resigned to being alone. But the absolute worst part, the thing that woke me in cold sweats every night, was what I'd learned about Jake from his dad. Paul had called me 2 weeks ago. Not to yell at me or berate me, but to tell me something he thought I needed to know. Jake's been having nightmares, he'd said, his voice heavy. Every night for 3 months, he dreams about Maya in his bed, and he can't make it stop. The therapist says it's a form of PTSD. I tried to apologize to say something that might help. "That's not why I'm calling," he'd said. "I'm calling because he asked me to give a message." I'd waited, holding my breath. "He wants to know that he forgives Di." The words hit me harder than any curse or could have. He said he's realized that carrying anger is just him more, and he wants to move on with his. He doesn't want a relationship with, doesn't want to see or talk to, but he forgives because that's what he needs to do to heal. I'd broken down crying on the phone. "Paul, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for what I did to him. I know but sorry doesn't undo trauma, Michael. Sorry doesn't give him back the 3 years he invested in a woman who was using him. Sorry doesn't erase the videos or the humiliation or the trust issues he's gonna carry for the rest of his pipe. He'd paused, and I could hear him breathing heavily. But know what's really heartbreaking? He still talks about like we're his brother. Even after everything, even after the therapy and the nightmares and the depression, he still remembers the cousin who taught him to ride a bike and helped him with his homework, and was supposed to be his best man at his wedding. That conversation had been 2 weeks ago, and I still couldn't get it out of my head. Jake forgave me, but I couldn't forgive. How to forgive for destroying someone who loved unconditionally? I'd started writing letters I'd never send. To Sarah, to Jake, to my parents, to my sister. Apologies, explanations, promises to be better. I'd written hundreds of pages, and then burned them all because nothing I could say would undo what I'd done. I'd thought about Amy had been right about that. I'd stood on the bridge near my apartment complex at 3 a.m., looking down at the water, wondering if it would be easier for everyone if I just disappeared. But then I'd remember Sarah asking Amy to make sure I didn't. And I'd realize that even that would be selfish. Even with the people I'd already enough, so I stayed alive and tried to figure out how to live with what I'd become. I worked my job at the hardware store, came home to my empty apartment, and tried not to think about that I'd thrown away. I'd stop drinking because it made the guilt worse. I'd stop watching because it reminded me of the videos. I'd stop listening to music because every song seemed to be about love or loss or betrayal. I existed. That's all I did. I existed in a gray limbo of my own making, paying the price for choices I couldn't undo. Last week, I'd run into one of Sarah's friends at the grocery store. Melissa. She'd recognize me immediately. Michael. She'd said my name like it tasted bad. Hi, Melissa. I'd tried to keep walking, but she'd blocked my path. I need to know something, she'd said, her voice shaking with anger. Sarah cried for 2 months straight after left. 2 months. She lost 15 pounds because she couldn't keep food down. She had to go on medication for anxiety and depression because of what did to her. I'd wanted to disappear into the floor. She blames herself, Melissa had continued. She thinks she wasn't good enough, wasn't prisoned enough, wasn't enough, period. She's convinced that if she'd been a better girlfriend, wouldn't have cheated on her with 7 different women. 7. I'd croaked. Oh, didn't know. Mia wasn't the only one who came forward after the videos went viral. Turns out we're quite the busy boy. Melissa's smile was vicious. Sarah had to get tested for STDs because she couldn't trust that been safe with the women were behind her back. The grocery store had started spinning around me. She tested clean, thankfully. But do know what it did to her to have to go to her doctor and explain why she needed to be tested. To have to admit that her fiancé had been cheating on her with multiple women and she didn't even know. I tried to say I was sorry, but Melissa had held her hand. I don't want apologies. I want to know that Sarah is finally starting to heal, and part of that healing involves accepting that never deserved her, that she 4 years of her on someone who saw her as disposable. She'd leaned closer, and her voice had dropped to a whisper. She's engaged again. To someone who actually deserves her. Someone who would never dream of betraying her the way did. And she's happy, Michael, really truly happy. Happier than she ever was with Pun. She'd walked away then, leaving me standing there in the cereal trying not to collapse. Sarah was engaged. To someone else. Someone who treated her the way I should have treated her. Someone who didn't see her as a safe option to fall back on while he around with other women. I was happy for her, I was. But it also made me realize that the last connection I'd had to my old was gone. She'd moved on, found someone better, and built a new that didn't include the memory of me as anything more than a cautionary tale. That night I'd sat in my apartment and tried to imagine what my would look like in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Would I ever be able to form meaningful relationships again? Would I ever be able to trust not to people who cared about me? Would anyone ever be able to trust me? The answer, I was starting to realize, was probably no. I'd made my choice. I'd chosen momentary pleasure over lasting love. I'd chosen selfish gratification over loyalty and integrity. I'd chosen to be the villain in everyone else's story, and now I had to live with being the villain in my own story too. There was no redemption arc coming, no grand gesture that would win Sarah back or repair my relationship with my family or undo the trauma I'd inflicted on Jake. This was it. This was I'd bought with my betrayal. I thought about writing one more letter. Not to send, but just to get the words out, to finally admit what I'd really lost and what I'd really learned. But what was there to say that I hadn't already said to 1,000 times? I'd had everything. A woman who loved me unconditionally. A family who was proud of me. A cousin who saw me as a brother. A built on trust and respect and genuine affection. And I'd traded it all for a few hours with someone who never gave about me. I sat in my empty apartment, surrounded by the wreckage of my choices, and finally understood what I'd really lost. It wasn't just Sarah or Jake or my family or my reputation. I'd lost the ability to be someone worth loving. And unlike everything else I'd destroyed, that was something I could never get back. The videos would live forever online, a permanent record of the moment I chose to become someone I didn't recognize. But the real damage wasn't captured in those recordings. The real damage was in the trust I'd shattered, the hearts I'd broken, the trauma I'd inflicted on people who'd done nothing but love me. I used to think I was a good person who'd made bad choices, but now I knew the truth: good people don't make those choices, no matter how unhappy or unfulfilled they feel. Good people break with their partners if they're not satisfied. Good people don't betray family members who trust them. Good people don't lie and manipulate and destroy other people's lives for their own gratification. I wasn't a good person. I'd probably never been a good person. I'd just been someone who'd gotten good at pretending to be good until the moment it became inconvenient. And now everyone knew who I really was, including me. The worst part wasn't the loneliness or the shame or even the regret. The worst part was knowing that if I could go back and do it all again, I'd probably make the same choices, because the person capable of making better choices was someone I'd never actually been. I was exactly who I'd always been, someone who would destroy everything beautiful in his for nothing at all.